I think that, and this is simply put, it's not going to detox. And once again, the word detox, get rid of these things. But I think sauna is probably, if not one of the easiest, and sometimes not the most effective, but the easiest ways. And, people and executives and business leaders at the practice here, and we do a lot of corporate work, you sometimes got to give them the easiest way because that's the best way. It might not be the most effective way, but it's the best way because they do it. Tell us about your
Mhm.
view on sauna in terms of being just a staple. My view is you should be in there, on average, we say 5 to 6 times, even if you just get a sweat after like 7, 8 minutes, as long as you get that sweat, I think is crucially important. Your view?
Yes, I completely agree, Steve. Sauna is really easy. It's accessible to a lot of people. It doesn't feel invasive, and yeah, sweating is key. Stephen Genuis out of Canada did a ton of research on the toxin excretion that would happen with sauna. And fortunately, almost everything can come out with sauna, with a few exceptions. Unfortunately, flame retardants do not come out with sauna. But we can get heavy metals out, toxic metals, we can get mold out, we can get a lot of the non-persistent environmental toxicants out. Plastics, probably not so much.
Sure.
But at least the phthalates and the parabens that are often accompanying the plastics can be excreted through sweat. And yeah, the I don't really have a preference. There's always this debate between far infrared and near infrared and which one's most important. Like, get in the sauna, get a sweat on as much as you can. And I think that you'll improve your detox capacity simply by sauna. Other less appealing ones would be things like coffee enemas or colonics. Huge important way to get out environmental chemicals, particularly the persistent ones, because they're fat soluble, meaning they are fat loving, and they're going to end up in the gallbladder if you have a gallbladder, and they're going to be dumped into the gastrointestinal tract when you eat something fatty or when you do a coffee enema or a colonic. So the bile contains a lot of these fat soluble toxins, the PCBs, the pesticides, some of the flame retardants. Then when you have a coffee enema or a colonic, the stimulation of the colon induces the gallbladder to dump the bile, which is where all your toxins are. And then our very efficient colons often will grab that bile, pull it back into the system because bile is expensive to make, and so we need to overcome that enterohepatic recirculation that's pulling the bile back in by doing the coffee enemas and the colonics, because then you're getting much larger bile dumps. And then not only that, you can follow that with some binders like activated charcoal, bentonite clay, stuff like that to help bind up some of those extra toxins that have been released in the bile dumps. But that is the fastest way to get rid of some of these more persistent, harder to detox environmental chemicals.
Cool. Let me just, we're going to drill down a bit into the sauna because I think it's important. I learned from you glycerine soap afterwards. Why is it
Mm.
important to use glycerine as in terms of your soap after the sauna?
Um, Thanks for that. I actually learned that from my mentor, Dr. Walter Crinian, who is a naturopathic doctor, died a number of years ago, sadly. But he was really the one who taught that it's supposed to be able to better bind some of these chemicals that are sitting on your skin.
Cool. And then afterwards in binding, what's your best for sauna? And you said, I think your protocol is half an hour afterwards. I wanted to sort of get your understanding why you take a binder half an hour afterwards, which is your most used one, and what has sort of moved the numbers and moved the symptoms. We talk a lot about chlorella and just the real importance of chlorella. Things like obviously the activated charcoal and the bentonite clay. What's your sort of strategy there?
Um, yeah, I will say I am not really a scientist, so oftentimes it's giving the protocols and leaving it up to the patients in some part to decide what they're going to take, what they're willing to take and able to take. As my practice has evolved more, my patients are so sensitive. Chlorella in a mast cell patient rarely does well. I should say, patients with mast cell activation
Mm,
rarely do well with chlorella, unfortunately, because it does have much more binding capacity with some of these environmental chemicals. Many of the mast cell patients have mold exposure, and chlorella can be helpful for mold exposure, but as I said,
mm,
they don't do as well. And you know, for convenience, a combo product would be nice for people that has both activated charcoal and bentonite clay. That being said, many of my mast cell patients are on like sprinkles of things, and so we're really not doing a lot of aggressive detox with them.
mm,
There's a combo product I like called GI Detox that if patients are able to tolerate it, it does have that clay and charcoal mix and a few other things that help also reduce the likelihood of constipation, which can happen with sauna. I'm sorry, with with detox. So I'd really have to go back and look at the literature
mm,
from Genoese to identify is a half an hour perfect timing,
mm,
or can we do it a little bit later? It
mm,
may also depend on the just on the time of day that things are done, when people are eating, their motility of their
mm.
gastrointestinal system, things like that.